In a quiet village in the upper east region of northern Ghana, the mornings began with birds calling from the tall baobab trees and smoke rising from small cooking fires. A wide river curved past the millet fields like a sleeping snake. On most days, the wind carried the smell of shea butter and peto, and children ran across the red earth with dusty heels and bright eyes. Ayamga woke before the first cock crowed. He was tall and strong, with eyes that noticed every change in the sky and in the soil. He carried his hoe over his shoulder and walked to his farm as the stars faded. His hands were hard like old wood. The sun had left lines on his face that told the story of many harvests. At home, Abiba, his wife, swept the compound clean and warmed cocoa on the fire. Their 4 children, Adongo, Akayat, Awini, and the youngest, Adisa, ate with happy faces and carried small calabashes of water to the washing stand. Their compound was small, but the walls were strong and the place was always neat. From the outside, everything looked fine. The family ate every day. The children were healthy. Visitors felt welcome. But deep inside Ayamga's chest, something was missing. It was small at first, like a dry leaf blown into a corner. Then it grew into a thorn. The thorn turned whenever he passed the big houses on the main road, cement walls painted cream, glass windows, shiny motorbikes parked in the shade. Men in rich fugu smocks laughed loudly as they greeted each other. Their wives wore fine wrappers and gold bracelets that flashed in the sun. Their children had new sandals and school bags that looked strong and clean. Ayamga walked by in his old shirt and dusty sandals and felt the thorn again. "I work harder than all of them," he told himself. "Why do I still have so little?" He tried to count his blessings, Abiba's steady love, the children's laughter, the taste of roasted guinea fowl on a good market day, but at night, when the village slept, a voice rose in his mind. "You deserve more. You work too hard to remain poor." Sleep began to leave him. He lay awake and stared at the thatch roof. The years behind him felt heavy. The years ahead felt the same. On a market day in Navrongo, while arranging yams on a mat, he heard 2 men behind a stall. Since he joined them, wealth came overnight, one man said. The other shook his head. "That road is not farming or trading. It is the dark way." He ignored the talk then, but the words followed him home and hid in the shadow of his thoughts. Weeks later, he met a Kolgo, a friend from his youth. They had once shared one bowl of tuorzafi when times were hard. Now Akolgo wore a rich brown smock, rings on his fingers, and new leather sandals. His stomach was round. His walk was slow and proud. "Brother," they greeted each other. They laughed like old times, but the laughter was thin. At last, Ayamga spoke plainly. "My brother, you have changed. Tell me how." Akolgo's smile slowed. "It is God," he said. "I believe in God," Ayamga answered, "but even God helps the man who moves his feet. My children deserve better. If there is a way, show me." Akolgo looked around as if the wind had ears. His voice dropped. "Be careful what you ask for. There is a man near the Tongo Hills, not ordinary. He speaks to spirits. If you go, never mention my name." "I understand," Ayamga said. "Follow the path by the river," Kolgo continued. "You will find a small hut with red signs on the wall. That is his place." Before dawn, Ayamga tied a small bundle, kissed the sleeping foreheads of his children, and slipped out of the compound. The path moved through shade trees and tall grasses heavy with dew. Birds called. Crickets answered. The air smelled of wet earth and leaves. He walked until he reached a mud and thatch hut in a small clearing, its walls painted with red symbols like long fingers. The air inside was hot and full of smoke. Candles burned low. Herbs hung from the roof. A thin, old man sat by a small fire, cheeks hollow, eyes too deep to read. "I know why you have come," the soothsayer said. "Do you know the price?" Fear touched Ayamga's tongue. "I am ready," he said. The old man tossed white powder into the fire. The flames hissed and turned blue. Shadows ran along the walls like lizards. For riches, he said, you must pour blood, the blood of someone close to your heart. Then your road will open. Iyanga's chest hit the drum of his ribs. Faces filled his mind, Abiba, the children. His voice was dry. Just one? Just one, the man replied. He handed a small bottle filled with dark liquid and taught Iyanga a chant. Pour this where the sacrifice will be made. Speak the words. The spirits will do the rest. That night, the house was gentle and quiet. The moon washed the floor in pale light. Iyanga knelt by Adongo, his firstborn, a boy with a calm smile even in sleep. He told himself a lie, I am doing this for the others. The lie burned, but he held it anyway. He poured the dark liquid on the floor and whispered the chant with shaking lips. At dawn, Abiba's scream broke the morning. The village gathered. Some brought millet, others brought wood. There had been no sickness. No warning. The morning songs were soft and long. The grave was small and neat. Days passed. Then the harvest came like a miracle. Yams grew like drums, cassava filled baskets, and the okra stood tall and proud. Traders arrived with good prices. A man came with land papers. Another came with a partnership in shea butter and groundnut oil. Debts disappeared. Doors opened. Some said, God has favored him. Others said, he is doing something special. Iyanga said nothing. He only nodded and kept moving. The old mud house came down. Workers raised a cement building, painted cream and green. There were glass windows and tiled floors. The front porch had marble steps that stayed cold even in the heat. A generator hummed at night. Water sprang from a new borehole into shining buckets. The children wore new clothes. People greeted him with respect. Children whispered, that is the rich man. But inside the big house, it did not move freely. Abiba walked slowly, as if her dress was made of stone. The children no longer ran and shouted. They talked in small voices and sat close to their mother. At night, a little footstep sometimes ran across a corridor and stopped at a door. When Iyanga opened the door, it was only lamplight and emptiness. He told himself, sacrifices are necessary. Pain will pass. The words tasted like sand. 8 moons later, he dreamt of the soothsayer. It is time, the old man said. In the morning, Iyanga returned to the bush. This time the path wound deeper to a larger shrine, carved pillars, powder symbols glowing faintly on the ground, candles standing like silent guards. A circle of men in long black garments waited. Many faces were familiar, traders, farmers, elders, men of quiet power who often sat in front rows at durbars. This is the yearly gathering, the soothsayer said. He set a calabash of water on the floor and dropped a piece of charcoal into it. The charcoal floated, turned slowly like a lazy fish, and stopped. It pointed at Iyanga. Again, he gasped. You know the covenant, the old man said. 1 blood each year. Silence held the room, heavy like rain. No one spoke for him. No one looked away. He paced the yard until moonrise, tried to bargain in his mind, money, cattle, land, but the truth did not bend. That night he stood over Akayat, his daughter, sleeping with her rag doll tucked under her chin. He remembered her running to him at the gate, her laughter like beads in a gourd. He poured the liquid, spoke the words, and closed the door with a hand that did not feel like his own. Abiba's cry the next morning was deeper and longer, a sound that shook the walls. Neighbors came with red eyes and silent mouths. A second small grave waited beside the first. Outside, Iyanga's name grew. More land. More cattle. More praise at durbars. If he walked into a chief's courtyard, he did not wait long. If he spoke, people listened.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Part 2 is next.